All right, ladies and gentlemen, joining me in the studio right now are two very distinguished gentlemen. One was the lieutenant governor of my home state of Maryland.
That's right.
His name is Michael Steele. He was also the chairman of the Republican National Committee. Very successful man. And the other gentleman is...
Are you laughing at the word gentleman?
I describe him as left-brained, left-eyed, left-handed, left politics, but one of the nicest guys you'll ever want to meet. People say, you know, how do you get along with Lanny Davis? I said, I happen to like him very, very much. We've been a guest in your home, and I mean, we had wonderful times together. And I used to enjoy on a regular basis tormenting you on my radio.
As the liberal is liberal, defending the indefensible.
That's exactly right. Well, now, you two have combined, and you are attempting to demonstrate that people from opposite political perspectives and beliefs can work together to get something done. And I think that your timing is perfect. One hears all the time about how gridlock, nothing's getting done. People are, upset with everybody. And the two of you have combined to counsel people and organizations and things like that how to get something done. Am I correct? In this crazy town.
I'm going to take the first shot here, though Michael does a better job of defining how you get consensus without giving up principles. And that is really, Michael Steele does it better than I. But I want to at least give the inspiration for this idea that you can have firm principles and still find common ground. When I tell the Gordon Liddy, Lanny Davis story. And it is a story about two polar opposites, because I am liberal and you are conservative, that one evening at my house, Michael, I discovered the common ground of all common ground, music. Mm-hmm. I invited Gordon Liddy to come over to my house and invited all my friends over who thought he was evil incarnate to ask all the questions about Watergate you always wanted to ask but never had the guts to ask.
Right.
And I said to Gordon, get ready for a tough night. And he said, bring it on. And so after we had dinner, and he was fantastic, as he always is, because he's intellectually honest. He may be wrong, but he's intellectually honest. I brought him into my living room, and I play the piano, and I play Broadway tunes, and I play by ear. And Gordon said to me, do you know anything from the musical Carousel? And I said, of course. And so I sat down at the piano, and he said, play the ballad, If I Loved You, which is a beautiful Rodgers and Hammerstein song. I had no idea that this man had any talent whatsoever other than breaking into the Watergate. And on that, he showed some imperfections in his talent. And so I start playing, and Michael, I mean this, one of the most beautiful singing voices that I've ever heard comes out of this person named Gordon Liddy. And as he's singing this beautiful ballad, as he gets to the very end, my wife comes up to the piano, Carolyn, who harmonizes, and the two of them sing in harmony for the finish of If I Loved You, and the entire living room stands up and gives him and my wife a standing ovation, and then suddenly it hits me. If 20 years ago anyone had said to me that I'd have Gordon Liddy in my living room singing with my wife, If I Loved You, with a bunch of liberals giving him a standing ovation, I'd say anything is possible. That's a true story. Now, Michael, you give a serious answer.
That is a true story.
Gee, man, I tell you, it's just a real pleasure for me to be back with you. It's been a while, and you're looking great, and I know you have left behind a tremendous legacy and insight. And so for me, the idea of coming together with someone someone like Lanny Davis is really consistent with that story, and in that you do find those areas where after a fashion you're just tired of being tired of folks not getting it done. And I'm a principled conservative. Led the GOP revolution or re-revolution in 2010, and we went out there and we fought hard around ideas about the role of government and the role of principle and values and how people feel about these things. But you realize, and certainly I do after having served time as an elected official, that there is a water's edge for our politics where the people really do expect you to get things done. They expect the problems to be solved. And the idea that the two of us coming together was symbolic of the right and the left, the red and the blue, finding that common purple ground to stand on, where we argue principally from our relative positions, but we understand that we need to reach consensus. And for the individuals that we work with, whether they are in politics or in business, law or media, our goal is to find that consensus point, that sweet spot, so that we can move your agenda and get it done. It's not about lobbying. It's not about all the traditional trappings of Washington. It really is about a different approach. I kind of look at the firms that have come before us, for example, and they're within a particular mold. We're kind of the next generation, where we understand the intersection of politics, law, and media, and how they come together to shape an agenda. And for us, it's just a matter of, from politically talking about how we need to move our politics forward, encouraging Barack Obama and Mitt Romney to not fall into the traditional traps and noises, but really get to laying out specifics about how they're going to solve our economic problems, what they're going to do to help the country. Meanwhile, at the same time, looking at it from a business perspective, when we have clients who, have fallen into the, as Lanny like to talk about, paying the insurance money, I got to get, I'm a left-leaning, businessman. I got to get a right-leaning, lobbying firm to help me with Republicans on the Hill or to help me with Democrats. We want to eschew that, go away from that model and talk about, okay, so where's your end goal here? Where are you trying to get to? And here's some particular solutions along the way that you may not even thought about. They get you outside of that traditional trapping of, I got to go to Washington, I got to go to Capitol Hill. Even looking at what we do at the state and local level, because as you know, as you watch the politics evolve over the last 10, 15 years, a lot of the problems that businesses have aren't necessarily anchored in Washington. They're in the state capitals, where legislatures now have a great deal more say on public policy and the impact that they're going to have on your business. So we're trying to create a new model. I think we're doing it, and certainly in terms of the politics, the voice of politics, bringing a different sound to it and saying, look, I can be as partisan as the next guy, as Lanny is, and I think Lanny is wrong on taxes. I think he's wrong on spending. I think he's wrong on a whole host of things. But I'm willing to say, at the same time that he's wrong, okay, let's find out where we can be right together, and that's going to be for the better good here.
Yeah, one of the things that I've noticed, you tell me if I'm wrong on this in my observation of Washington, that the truly successful presidents like Reagan, Bill Clinton, and Obama, and successful in the sense that people may be opposed to them, but they like them personally. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Good Lord knows I, railed against Clinton to you, but Clinton, is a guy that you would enjoy being with, and so was Reagan.
And throw in George Bush, who's my friend from college, who I warned both Senator Kerry and Vice President Gore's people, don't underestimate George Bush because he's so likable.
Yeah, and that's it. And of course, Obama has many followers who just, I think they probably don't know much about the issues at all, but they like him. Mm-hmm. And I think that the lesson there is don't demonize, because it'll get you nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
What you got to do is what the two of you just been laying out is find a way that you can, and especially there was no social media back during the Clinton years, and the social media is a revolution in communication.
It has changed the way you get your agenda accomplished, and what you notice is a lot of it is driven less and less by the traditional forms of media, newspapers, for example. Bloggers have an enormous sway, and they are kind of shaping and pushing the news stories. Now you add layer on top of that, Twitter and Facebook and all these other genres of communication have really transformed the way we see politics, the way we engage in it, the way we solve problems. And I think for us, the idea is to be a little bit cutting edge in that regard, to sort of get out in front of that, and to really be able to help an entity or an individual shape their story before it's shaped by somebody else.
Yeah, you better define it, or they'll define
it will be defined for you.
Now, tell me, the conventional wisdom is that newspapers are passé, and pretty soon we'll just have our e-readers, and you won't be able to buy a newspaper. But I notice that you have new successful publications in this town. The Hill, the Daily Caller, all of these things. How are they overcoming what appears to be the tide going the other way?
Well, one thing that I hope happens is that people get more than 30-second attention spans the older they get. So I have a 14-year-old now, Gordon, and a 7-year-old. When I knew you, I had my 2 adult children who now have 3 grandchildren each. I have 6 grandchildren and 2 little boys, 14 and 7.
I'll raise you a great-granddaughter.
Oh, my gosh. Well, you've always been with all your children and grandchildren. But my point is that right now, the younger kids have a 30-second attention span all the way into college, and they'll read and scan the internet very quickly. But I think the older people get, the more they recognize they need more than 30 seconds to understand an issue that's impacting their lives. I think that may be the ultimate reversion back to paper journalism, because the internet doesn't lend itself to spending a lot of time. And going back to what we're doing as a business, Gordon, the company's name is Purple Nation Solutions. We're trying to get members of Congress to do more than a 30-second meeting where they're getting an ideological argument. They turn to their staff, and their staff says, this is the way you would vote on this ideologically, Senator. And that's the end of your meeting. That's the way most meetings go. It's whatever the staff says, and it's 30 seconds. We think that drilling down into substance is where people get common ground, is they have ideological principles, and then they see the solution may have some common elements of liberal and conservative methodology. And that's what Michael, I keep quoting Michael, he keeps quoting me, which means we're going to be good partners. That's where Michael says is the sweet spot to actually solve a problem. We might try out, the healthcare issue or a whole bunch of other issues, the national debt. How would we address that if we were in the political arena? But in the legislative regulatory arena, I know from experience that when you go into a regulator, when you go to a member of Congress with a congressional problem, there's some sweet spot there between left and right that actually solves your client's problem. You just got to find it.
You do. And I think the other aspect of it is the fact that when you look at some of the publications that you cite, they start online. They kind of emanate out of the internet ether. But they recognize that there is still some value to having that piece of paper in your hand, and so they then supplement, if you will, their online work or efforts with the news, the hard print, and they really do. And I think this is you see some of the more established ones, the Post, the Times, et cetera, kind of evolving in reverse, where all they had was ink and paper, and they've had to now launch into this whole new world of internet media. and so they're playing it so that they're taking their internet presence as a supplement to their paper. So you can now, when you go online, I can actually get the hard copy version on my iPad or my iPhone as well, so that it's still like reading the news. The hard paper that shows up on your front porch is not designed the way necessarily the current internet version would be.
Gentlemen,
so they're trying to accommodate every way.
We need to take a pause for the benefit of our advertisers, because we're still free marketeers here at Radio America. Somebody's got to buy the batteries that run this place.
You mean socialism doesn't pay for commercials?
No. I'll be right back with two terrific guys and dear friends, Lanny Davis and Michael Steele. They have combined, and who says oil and water can't mix?
This is the G Gordon Liddy Show. Visit Facebook to become G-Man's friend. G Gordon Liddy at Facebook.com. The G-Man is back.
All right, I'm back, and I'm with my very special guest, old friends, Lanny Davis and Michael Steele. Politically, they are worlds apart, but they recognize that the American people want things to get done, and things aren't getting done, and so they're going to put their two extraordinary talents together and help people get things done in Washington. And let's see, I was telling you the story about Franklin. So he went to try to learn Hebrew, and 5 hours a day, cram course and everything, and finally he figured, well, I'll try it out. His wife sent him down to the store to get some paper plates, and he went in, and in his best Hebrew asked for the paper plates, and they handed him a flashlight. I was so embarrassed. He said, I took the flashlight and left. Okay. Guys, we've only got a couple of minutes left, and I know you are very, very busy. Central message that you want to get across to our listeners today.
Well, I think that the central message is really one of, as this presidential race unfolds, I think it's incumbent upon us as citizens. It's not about being a Democrat or Republican at this point. As citizens, to demand that each of our presidential candidates bring the kind of level of respect to the process, that they respect us enough to tell us what they're going to do, explain to us how they're going to help us move beyond the stalemates that we see, not just in the Congress, but in our economy as a whole. Businesses, what are you going to do to unleash business, to let them get back to that entrepreneurism that has defined generations long before now, and let's put that pressure back on them to really have a conversation with us, and then we from that will decide who the next president will be, and we will do so with the level of knowledge and appreciation for not just their leadership, but their vision of where the country is going to be 4 years from now, 5 years from now. And that, to me, is going to be a central part of this campaign.
And Gordon, just to go back to shamelessly plugging our business, what connects that political message to our business message is the word purple. You get solutions in Washington by Democrats and Republicans like the good old days, fighting it out during the day, and then Tip O'Neill would slip out the back door, have a drink with Ronald Reagan, and get Social Security reform done. That's what we want our clients to see us as, solutions-oriented people.
Exactly.
Folks, thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you, G-Man.
God bless you, G-Man.
Thank you.